Hello and welcome to Vibrant Numerals. I'm very excited to finally get to go and see the movie Sinners. But before I go watch it, I'm going to look at the energies and all the numbers that are coming up just from the trailers. So that's what this video will be. I'm Elizabeth, and I help spiritual practitioners and number enthusiasts apply numerology and see numerology as a useful thing in their everyday life and in their practice. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. So I wasn't sure where to start or begin or how this needed to be organized because it's more of a free thought thing kind of happening. And so I decided to just number and word vomit onto this screen and just talk about what I am seeing and feeling. And so prior to going to see the movie tomorrow, I looked at the birth chart of the movie Sinners. So its birthday would have been at its premiere. The first time anybody saw it would have been April 3rd, 2025. I looked at the numbers and the vibration there. And then I also looked at some of the numbers and vibrations for um, tomorrow when I'm going to go see it. And I looked at two trailers that came out prior to the movie coming out in theaters and just pulled numbers and words and channeled messages through that. So that's what all of this is based on. And then I will do a recap afterwards and give my review of my numerology review and see what else I picked up on. So, interestingly, just the name Sinners is 98, which is a 17. Um, but it also is the numerical vibration of the word trust, also black fatigue. And so the initial feeling of just seeing um, the name along with the trailer especially is that it was like this back and forth of energies around trust, like who can be trusted and who can't be, um, and like understanding that there's a level and continuum to this trust. This makes sense for the life path number of um, the movie Sinners. So when the movie Sinners was born, brought into existence in April, there was a Pisces stellium. So there were multiple planets that were conjunct together in Pisces, and we now have those moving into Aries. And so that's some very interesting energies because Pisces is the last of the zodiac signs. So it was created in this energy or birthed into this energy of a lot of endings. And then its life path number is 16, which is represented by the tower in tarot, which is like a forced energy ending, a forced transformation. And so I'm curious to see now um, if it was brought into the world in this energy of endings, if it'll challenge a lot of the new energy coming in now with all this Aries energy, especially with Aries around I am. So challenging the self, which is interesting because one of the words that came up was war, which resonates at 42, and that is the same as the word self. Also, spiritual war, and spiritual war is, the spiritual war is 200. And what was coming up a lot was this 2. It was like this play with 11 and 2. And if you've seen some of my other videos here recently, there is a lot of energy of 11 to 2, of this dualism, which also is an 11. It's a 92-11. It playing out where it's this back and forth um, between these extremes, and having to figure out how to be able to bring these extremes together to create something new. And so I was feeling a lot of that same energy when I was tapping into this movie, um, where it's like you have these two extremes, and it's believed that they are independent and they live alone, and there's nothing else in their world. But all of a sudden, in this moment, they have turned around, because they had backs to each other. They have turned around, and now they have seen each other. And so now this is the war going back and forth. This is it's very interesting, because you have the twins that are coming up. There's a ton of Gemini energy right now. We just moved into Gemini season, and Mercury is pretty active in Gemini. The moon is active in Gemini right now. So there's a lot happening in this energy of duality, and this, how do we move from balancing between these two worlds and actually bring them together. And we hear that again when it's like this contrast between the past and the future. And the past resonates at an 89, which is the same as the word unity. And the phrase the future resonates at 124, which is the same as survival. So it's like, do we come together? Can we trust that 98 again? Can we trust enough to come together in unity? Do we come together, or do we survive? And how is there a possibility that we can have both? Is it possible to be able to have unity and survival at the same time? And from the birth chart of this movie, and all of that Pisces, is where this emotional depth is coming in. And this is where we're getting this other 11, because this little sentence, or this little phrase of the emotional depth of Sinners movie is 371. So now we have another 11 too. And in the last couple of weeks, another 371 that came up was this little sentence or phrase: the faith and the truth to act, not react. So it's intentional instead of being just triggered. And that then comes back to even more duality, where we're seeing this contrast in a lot of different areas between blue and red. And blue and red, when we think about in the spiritual realm, but also like in tarot, usually symbolize the subconscious and the conscious mind. And we always are going back and forth between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And so it is trying to no longer balance between what's in the conscious and the subconscious mind, because it's usually the wound that's deep in the subconscious mind. But how do we bring that to the consciousness so something new can open up? And that brings me to this phrase, the open wound, that came up when I was watching the trailer. So the open wound adds up to 160, which is the same numerical vibration as the word subconscious. And that 16 is coming up again from the life path number of this sinners. So it's you have this open wound that's deep in the subconscious, but is it safe enough to allow that wound to come to the conscious mind? Because if you bring it to the conscious mind, especially if you bring it to the conscious mind for healing, now you're able to get the power, because wound is 77, which is same as the word power. So there's So there's a lot of this back and forth, dualistic feeling and dualism, um, coming from this movie without seeing it initially. Um, I think the other thing is about the healing of that open wound. Oh, and that's here too, where it was interesting because um, I got this phrase healing by death and then healing by fire to just find out that both death and fire um, resonate at the same number, 38, which is also an 11, with that dualism again. But it's healing that open wound by death, where death is um, the ultimate healing. And when it's not physical death, it can be a full life transformation. Um, but also, fire was interesting in that it's coming and it's burning away something. But if we're trying to bring these two things together, what is it burning away? Is it burning away the piece in the middle to bring them together? Is it burning away the impurities in each of these extremes so that they can come together, so they can actually fit together? I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see. The other 11 that did come up is this phrase, healing the open wound by death or fire, is 281, which is another 11 too. And earlier so less than a month ago, I got two other phrases that also equal 281. It's speaking truth to power and on the Underground Railroad. Um, and so this movie has a lot of the same energy that's resonating right now. A lot of this presentations of extremes in a dualistic way, and then realizing that they actually have to come together in some way, but the only way that they can is through the healing of these deep, deep, deep rooted wounds that have been living in the subconscious mind, but they're being presented consciously. And so it is definitely time for healing. So that's what I got. I am very curious to watch this movie, and I will come back with a recap and with a review after I've watched it from that numerology lens. Thanks for sticking in there with me. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of channel numerology. Um, and also make sure you hit the notification bell, like, subscribe, and share, but also hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when I post my review and my recap. Bye.